the fish tank off?
No. It'll be fine.
Okay.
It'll be okay.
It'll be okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Let me check.
Doing it from the living room.
1, 2, check. 1, 2.
Mic check.
Mine's a little quiet.
You know what Dad said?
Huh?
He said that we should put the these ones on here.
On here?
Yeah, and just use it. And I'm like, but why?
But why do you have this? So
I don't know, because it's aesthetically pleasing.
we do have to figure this out. Get them hooked up.
I know, but we need money to do stuff like that. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the box.
Hello. This
welcome.
is What's in the Box.
Yeah, what's in the box?
Today with your hosts, Zach and Cheryl.
I'm Zach.
I'm Cheryl. What's in the box?
What's in the fucking box?
What's in the fucking box?
To the box. Hey. So we're kid free.
Woo!
Kid-free
We
weekend.
ain't got no kids. We ain't got no kids.
For Cheryl, we're single parents.
I kept saying it, and I was like, "No, that's not it.
That's not the one. That's not the one I wanted to say.
That's not the thing."
Oh, hold
wow.
on. I gotta check what time it is.
I was high. I didn't know.
It was just really funny because you were like, "Yeah, we're gonna be single parents." I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
I didn't even think about it. I napped off my high.
Yeah, you did. Sorry.
Wow.
I knew it the
It
moment
was a good nap, though.
I knew it the moment you were like, "I want to take a nap," and I was like, "Okay, go ahead."
It was a good nap, though.
I bet it normally is.
It is. It was a mighty fine nap. I slept pretty well in that chair with all the cats on me.
So I can't remember what it was. I literally just wrote it down while you were napping.
Oh, no.
Because I had an idea, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. But then I forgot. So.
Well, let's talk about what you did today.
Yeah. We did the Hot Ones challenge
We
today.
did not.
Well,
he did.
Okay, I did. I did the Hot Ones challenge today.
Cheryl cannot do spice.
Yeah, which is really good. Okay, so I've done it twice.
Three times.
3 times. Well, not including this time?
Yeah. No, 3 times total.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I've done it. That's what I was saying.
Twice
I've done
before.
it twice before, and the last time we all agreed that we weren't going to do
the bomb
again because it's ridiculously hot for no like taste
flavor.
or anything. Like there's no flavor to it. It's literally like if you took a seed from a pepper and put it on your tongue and then held it there for like a whole day. Like there's no there's no flavor in it. There's no like, I don't get it. I said this to Bruce when we were doing it. They don't do it at the Walmart by us, which is nice, but they sell that at Walmart.
At some Walmart, yeah.
Yeah, at some Walmarts. And I'm like, why? Who fucking goes, oh, I just want to burn my whole...
This is O'Malley. That's his butthole.
Get him. Parental advisory, kitty butthole. Don't show your kids. But...
I have another one playing with my toes underneath the table.
But it's the little version of him. But anyway, I was like, I don't understand why somebody... Because they got a lot of cool hot sauces at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't understand why anybody would ever want that other than shock value, which I feel like is why Hot Ones
I feel like that's what it is. I feel like it's purely...
Yeah,
like you buy it just to like...
say that you...
fuck with your friends and family and stuff. You're like, try this, guys.
Because like it's not
the worst.
It's not good. It doesn't taste good, and it just like, I don't know. It just fucks your whole mouth up because it just stays like super hot forever.
Start of the show here.
Anyway, but so we took that out this time. Yeah. So I took it out this time. Even though the person that made such a big deal the last time did show up.
But then it made the rest of it
Yeah, they were still
like
hot.
overly manageable.
Yeah, they were still hot. Which also Cheryl was like, you should have asked more questions because I didn't think about that part.
Or just conversation,
like,
period. Like,
well, because like the last time we did it, the first time we did it was with the girls, which that was fun because Emma. Well, we did it with Emma. It wasn't the girls. It was me, Tina, and Emma.
mm-hmm.
But Emma at that time was like 10 or 11, and she hadn't had anything spicy other than like the spicy chips and like sriracha. And like sriracha.
Yeah.
And so that was fun because like got to see her reactions and comment on her reactions and stuff like that. That was fun. And then the second time we had what, like 6 people?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
We had like 6 people, so like we were already talking beforehand, and then with the bomb that escalates because that spice doesn't go away, and it just makes everything else more spicy than it normally would. Which is partially why I took it out this time too, is because I wanted to see if it was just that or if they really were like as spicy as.
Well, they are, but
which they are. It's just it definitely makes a difference. Not having the bomb in there definitely makes a difference with those last 3.
Yeah.
Because they're really hot, and yes, they do burn your mouth, but they're not like, they don't shut your brain off. Okay. But they don't like shut your brain off, and I feel like that's what happens with.
I don't know. I think it might have shut the brain off of Bruce's kid,
Bryson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked how he came in here.
He played it so cool.
He played so cool. He even came in here to hide from, because he's in here like panicking, like breathing through it, and like hiding from you guys. So
yeah, it was really, it was really fun, but also there was none of that, which is part of the fun. There was none of like the panic or like. I think the last one was the only one where unanimously everybody was like.
Yeah, the last one is where you guys all started breathing.
Yeah, the last dab. But it wasn't like Nick didn't panic this time either.
Yeah.
But it was just like a overwhelming hot. Like nobody panicked, which is part of the fun of doing it. So I don't know. I might the next time we do it. I
told you it's part of the experience. Yeah. You have to keep it in there.
They have a different one.
It sucks, but it's the experience.
That's what it's called. They have because they have the last dab experience, which is the one that I got. But they also have the bomb experience too. It's not the. It still has the atom bomb on it, but it's not the tiny
little bottle.
It has a different like label on it or whatever. I might get that one, but I think I'm gonna do that again. But I want to do it at least once a year because it's a lot of fun. But anyway, I wasn't prepared because I was just some people didn't get back to me until like really late.
So we weren't really sure about
who was going to be here.
You were making wings for.
And so I was just like trying to prepare for who I got, and I really wasn't thinking about the talking part of it. But yeah. But then also, I forgot what I was going to say. There was something else about that I was going to say, and I forgot. Oh well.
Okay.
Sorry. So, what did you do this weekend? That was I had another fun, exciting thing.
What did I do this weekend?
I had another exciting thing that was exciting for me, but I don't know. How was your weekend?
We went on a date.
Yeah, we did go on a date.
And we saw a movie.
Did see a movie.
I bet y'all can guess what movie.
Maybe not.
I bet you they could. We went to a movie theater and saw a movie that just came out. I bet you can guess it.
Put a comment, put a guess.
We're going to tell it.
Pause the movie or pause the episode right now. Put a comment and then start it up again and then be like, shit, I was right.
Shit, they're so predictable.
Yeah, we went and saw Deadpool.
And Wolverine.
And Wolverine.
You can't forget that part because that's the important part.
Yes, and it was really good.
It was really good.
I do have to say, and I said this to you last night.
Is there a spoiler in this?
No.
Okay.
Not for this. No, not for this. Not for this part. I don't know. You can do spoilers if you want.
No. I'm just saying. I was just making sure that you weren't saying anything that might be a spoiler first, so we could at least warn them.
No. I was saying because I said this to you last night. I really, the older that I get, I more so really appreciate you and you like letting me be weird and do things. I don't know. I know to you it's not like that big a deal, and I appreciate that. But like, the more and more I get older, the more I see people like around my age and like go to movies and stuff, and they're just like boring, like that, like Deadpool and Wolverine. Like that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And that's like, and with how many people now are like into Deadpool and like have seen it and like pop culturally are aware, and then you get like just those people that bought the Deadpool shirt like at Walmart like that day, and like that's their like I dressed up to go see Deadpool. Like, I
think what was sad for me
that's just not who I am, and so I appreciate that. Like, you're not like.
I think what was sad for me taking you there with you dressed up was hearing everyone else compliment so much and be so excited that you're wearing the mask and that you dressed up. And it was like, you can, like, it's the subtle undertones in how excited they get that you can tell that they, like...
Somebody did what I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I wish I had that kind of confidence to, like, come to a movie theater with a mask on, or, like, you know, like, that would have been fun to do, but...
Well, like, it's the same...
I don't get embarrassed. Like, I'm not... You know what I mean? Like...
I know, but you don't even get, like... and that's what I was getting at. You don't even get, like, subtly, like, okay, we're doing this. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, some people... I'm not just saying, like...
No, the only thing I was concerned about is that they weren't going to let you into the theater.
Yeah, and nobody said shit.
No one said anything, which was crazy. That's scary.
I wore it all the way to us.
Do they not remember the Dark Knight incident? Because the
way to us sitting down in the theater, and nobody said shit. Well, people said stuff, but not like, "Hey, you need to take your mask off."
Yeah, no one told him he had to take his mask off or anything. Probably because you were with me.
It's kind of cool.
And they were like, "Oh, he's fine. He's not going to shoot up the theater. He's got a girlfriend."
He's got a girlfriend. She doesn't have anywhere to hide a weapon, so he's fine. But yeah, I just thought, like I said last night, I really appreciate it just because, like, it's one of those things. It's one of those things that I really enjoy about like movies and going to see movies, especially movies that like that, like superhero movies and stuff. Yeah. It's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, I don't, you know.
But just, I don't know. But just like
I just don't see the point in getting upset about it. Like,
I just appreciate it more as an adult because, like, objectively, like, that's like the funnest part of being a kid. I understand, like, I'm not a kid and I'm an adult, but like,
but we are all kids.
Like, I know that's what I'm saying, but that's like the fun. Like, every kid got super excited at Halloween. All of them. They were like, we get to dress up as things.
We get
like,
to be this.
Like, this is like the best thing ever. And then somewhere into adulthood, we think it's
lame or
childish.
Whatever.
And we're like, well,
or look at that nerd, but yet you're all at the Deadpool Wolverine movie, so you're all nerds.
Yeah. Like, yeah. And so like, and that was part of it for me too, that I noticed while we were like walking around or whatever, and people are like, I really like your costume, or like things like that, is that like, it was, except for that one guy, it was all the people that like didn't dress up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it was all the people that were like, oh, it's fucking cool.
But it seemed like there was quite a few like dads.
Yeah.
Like kind of like old, like, well, not old, but older, like, guys that were like, wow, that's really cool, dude. Mm-hmm. I like your mask. Yeah. Except for that one kid. I like your mask!
Oh, my God. That fucking cracked me up because I even told Cheryl.
You know that was pure anxiety.
That was an honest to God anxiety moment because we were walking because we got there early because like the seats because I was watching the seats throughout the day to see like because which I think is really cool that Marcus has like they're available
seats and
they have their available things. So I was checking it all day and I was like, oh, I didn't want to sit like way up front and be like this like the whole time. And so I was like, we'll get there early and see if there's any still like in a manageable row. So we got there early and we were walking through the hallways, like looking at movie posters or whatever. And this guy and this kid, I shouldn't say guy. This like kid is walking with his girlfriend and like we're walking this way and they're walking towards us. And he gets all the way past like almost behind us as we're walking, and then goes, "I like your mask." And it was like it threw me off, and I was like, "Oh, thanks."
And it wasn't like a kid. He says kid, but it was like
it was like
teen to young adult. Like it was an older teen.
But but me and Cheryl laughed, and I was like, "That was totally a talking with himself." That was like,
he was like,
I should really say something. I should really say something.
Oh no, he's getting away from me.
Shit, I passed him. I like your mask.
And afterwards, he was like, I was way too close to yell that loud.
Well, that's what I told you we were walking. He probably leaned into his girlfriend and was like, I killed it, right? I got it.
And she's like, yeah, you kind of yelled at him.
Did you hear me? Killed it. Crushed it.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. There was a lot of pop culture references in the movie that, like, I told him on the way home, I was like, it's a good thing that, like, I've been storing that useless information for the last, like, 20 years. Because, like, it made the movie funnier.
I got that reference.
I got all the references.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about how much I appreciate you. How much I appreciate you.
Oh.
I like how you're.
Well, why not?
I like how you're totally like, yeah, we don't need to spend that until you heard it. Well, I mean, we could.
I thought you were talking about the movie. I don't
want to spend the whole podcast talking about how I appreciate you. But, however, that is the nice. It is the nice part about being with you, though, and our personalities and interests and whatever.
Well, there's times where I like to be weird, and I don't want to be looked down upon when I'm acting something.
So what? Well, also like
when I belt out Baby Bottle Pop song in the middle of Walmart. Like I want you to like support me in this endeavor of turning my life into a commercial, and not like feel some kind of way about me embarrassing you in Walmart.
But like even for movies like that, like the fact that you are interested in like that whole universe and you do get the pop culture references and like I understand you have a loud laugh to begin with, but what really got me about us watching that movie is that you laughed harder than most of the theater.
No, hell no. There was a guy up there.
Okay, so I was gonna say no, I was gonna say besides him. Besides him, like, and it wasn't at the things that like laugh here kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't
the little things.
I get that.
It was the little things that you.
I think I was annoying the lady next to me though.
She was fucking.
Because I think she was kind of whispering to her husband a couple times.
She was annoyed being there. Yeah. The moment she sat,
I don't think she wanted to see the movie. I think her husband just was like, "Let's go on a date."
The moment she sat down, she was like, like, okay, whatever. You picked the wrong seat, the wrong side, lady. You should switch.
Yeah. It was the commercial to Alien that I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. When she was like, that looks scary.
No, she was like, thank God that's over. That was disgusting. And I was like, it's Alien. Like what? What? Girl, have you never watched any of the Alien movies?
Yeah, it was just really nice. I appreciate that about not just that, but I appreciate that about you in general. Is that like it's nice that we have similar interests in that way of like.
You see how it's done, ladies? You see how it's done?
all an act. I hate superheroes. No, but just like it's not a struggle. Like you were excited, genuinely. It wasn't like I guess I'll do this for you, like type of thing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. It's nice that I can be like, where do you see Deadpool and Wolverine? And you're not like, okay.
All right, I guess we're gonna go see this movie. No, I'm only like that about your sports inspirational movies.
Sports movies.
You're like, let's go watch Rudy, and I'm like, let's not, and say we did.
I've never even watched Rudy with you, by the way.
I know, because I make fun of that one the most. I don't think you ever want to bring it up. You'd be like Coach Carter. You'd be like,
I'm not a big Rudy fan anyway. Just like one scene.
Unless it has Nick Swartz in it, is that what you just said?
And she's totally down for inspiration.
The Bench Warmers is not. It is. But it's like Bad News Bears type of like, it's comedy more than it's sports inspirational. It's more comedy than it is sports inspirational. And it's my kind of comedy. It's a stupid comedy. Like, the dumber it is, the better it is. I think it's just because we're so, like, intellectual that, like, sometimes we just want to be reminded that there are some, like, really fucking dumb people out there. No, just kidding.
Dumb people exist. Oh, that was going to be really bad.
What?
Like radio.
You have a microphone on.
Well, you didn't hear me. I was trying to.
That's not what I meant by dumb people.
I know it's not, but you said it.
That's fucked up. You're gonna get canceled for that.
to 5 subscribers. That's gonna be one of those videos. If this does actually happen to the point where we get more than like 5 subscribers, that's gonna be the Kevin Hart video that comes up 3 years later. It's like, you're being canceled now.
Yeah, right? For something you said fucking 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really upset that I don't know what I wrote down, because it was really good.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
You just need to make it a shared note, so that way you can use it.
I've been thinking about when I add, like right before we do podcasts, when I add things to just screenshot it to you.
Can't you just make it a shared note, just like the calendar? It's all through Google.
Oh, maybe.
I'm pretty sure you can. This is not a discussion for the podcast. You want to hear our inner workings?
Yeah, because we're boring.
Oh, who said that?
Nothing.
Oh.
No, I was saying because we're just talking about notes.
Oh. I was like, who said we're boring? I'm sorry. We're not cool anymore.
We're not cool anymore. Anyway, so
yeah.
I
got asked today, what if there's any like MCU?
What does messy mean? When we get a hotel room?
Oh yeah, that too. What does messy mean when we have a hotel room for ourselves? And I'm like,
I really was.
You don't want to know.
I really was unprepared for that question. I really thought
I was
he was gonna ask something completely different, and then he's like, "Well, like, not that I'm judging, but like, what constitutes as like messy?
How messy does it get that you don't want to clean it at home?" And I'm like, "No, I just don't want to change my sheets, bro." Like.
And then, did you hear me talk to Bruce about the Olympics?
No.
Because you said Olympic style sex or something like that. Somebody said that. I don't know if you did.
It wasn't me because I was making the pegging joke.
Somebody said Olympic style. What is it, like Olympic style sex or whatever? And Bruce was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, we bring like the medals and stuff." And he goes, "Do you have judges?" I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, we just open up the curtains to the hotel room. 9.5? Are you kidding me? That's funny. Anyway,
that was way more than a 9.5 ticket.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Anyway, you were asked what?
I don't remember.
You were asked about the MCU.
Oh, I was asked if there's any movies they had to watch before they watched the Deadpool and Wolverine one, and I'm like.
All of them?
Yeah, like, But then I was like, okay, well, I mean, you could probably get away with only watching like Logan. And then I was like, oh. And then I was like, have you watched any of like the older Marvel movies, like the ones before Iron Man? And they were like, what's before Iron Man? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, that was the first time in my life I felt like a bigger nerd than the people around me. I was like, I can't tell you because I'm giving away parts of the movie then.
That was when Cheryl was like, oh, this is what this feels like.
Yeah, I'm like,
When I talk about things and Cheryl's eyes glaze over, she had that moment with somebody
else. Yeah. Well, the worst part about it is I couldn't even like get into it. I couldn't geek out on it. Mm-hmm. I couldn't because then I was giving away like cool parts of the movie, and I'm like, well, you're not gonna get this reference, this reference, this reference, this reference. Holy shit! You're not gonna get like half of the movie's references.
None of them. Never mind.
If you don't think that there's any Marvel movies before before Iron Man, and he's like, well, I've seen like the Tobey Spider-Man. I'm like, okay, that's a start.
That's step one.
That's Good not job. Even step one. That's like the last step before Iron Man. But yeah, it was an interesting conversation. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, I felt like Talladega Nights when he doesn't know what to do with his hands. Like, with my hands. What do I do with these? This is Peaches. Peaches. I love you. Oh, Peaches. Peaches.
This is the cat that my daughter, quote unquote, found.
She was founded.
After talking about, are you sure I can't get a kitten for like 3 months? And then weirdly, a kitten just showed up in our house. Conveniently.
Well, I was napping.
Conveniently.
Whatever. She became a wonderful part of this family immediately. Even you fell in love with her, and you don't like cats.
She's a part of this family, whether you like it or not.
Even you fell in love with her, and you claim to not like cats.
I don't like cats.
I say he claims to like not like cats because he always says I don't like cats, but then he does cutesy things with cats, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, I can. Well, I can. One, I don't like that cats make me itchy. I don't like that.
That's because you're allergic to them.
I know. Which is what I said about O'Malley. But O'Malley, for the most part, after his year of like biting and scratching me every time I was around him.
It wasn't a year, it was like 3 days.
Whatever. He like just left me alone, which is fine.
Yeah.
But like she does not leave anything or anybody alone. It just makes me itchy all the time. I can still do cute things. I can still do cute things with other people's babies and not like other people's kids. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, inside the house was a great idea.
Well, it was a great idea.
No, it is. It's far better than the hot ass garage right now. But yeah, the cats are making this entertaining for sure. We were supposed to do one with my mom today.
Yeah.
But we had some technical difficulties, so
we're
gonna have to wait on that one.
Can we not? We didn't put those up there for you.
Those have been up there. I don't know why she hasn't bothered those. The green one is the one I moved.
Because all the stuff was in the way.
Oh,
she couldn't get to them. All the stuff was in the way before.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyhow. So how I got a question.
What?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I got a question.
Yeah.
How does it feel? And maybe this will make you emotional.
How does it feel, baby?
And I'm sorry. Lower.
How does it feel, baby?
Deeper.
Yeah.
Anyway, how does it feel being away from your children? Is it an actual, like, because for some people, it's like a relief.
No, it's like, kind of a bittersweet thing. It's like I don't know. I feel like I can never truly fully relax when I'm not with my children, because like there's always the back of my head of like,
what's going on?
What's going on? Are they okay? How are they doing? Like I wouldn't call myself a helicopter mom necessarily, but I do usually know what my children are doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I do have a general good idea on what my children are doing for the most part of the day. So, like, when they're away from the house for longer than, like, 10 hours or 24, if they'd spent the night somewhere, then it's like, okay, like, are they okay? Like, and not just like now? Not just physically. Oh my god. Kitty. Oh no. No, don't fight me. Ah! Man. Not just physically okay, but are they like emotionally okay? Like, yeah. And I know it's like, okay, well, why don't you just call them and find out? And it's like, okay, but at the same time, I want to give them their space too. Like, yeah. Like, I call them, like, I check on them, I see how they're doing or whatever. Are you sure that has you in the frame? We'll find out.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
Anyway.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, it's just like a bittersweet thing. It's like, it's nice because I'm like, oh, this is nice. I don't have to do anything. I'm not obligated to like take care of another human being right now. Like, I don't have to drive anyone anywhere.
Like a monkey.
I know. She does this shit to me all the time. Normally in the kitchen, she climbs up my whole body, like from the floor up.
Anyway.
Hi. But it's you know, it's nice because I don't have to drive anyone anywhere. I don't have to like make sure they're eating. I don't have to be like, you know, I don't have to check on them or. But at the same time, it's like I love my kids. Like, I think they're cool, and I enjoy hanging out with them and spending time with them. So sometimes I get I miss them a little.
I ask because, like, obviously, well, I like to think so, but obviously, like, you like spending time with me.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, having time, like, just us.
I also like being able to nap whenever the hell I want.
Not just for the sex part.
You put your hand on the wrong side of your face.
Not just for the sex part. But I like to think that you like spending time with me. And it's a lot easier, like, without the kids, because the same as your nap thing. You don't have to, like, okay, I want to go do this.
We don't have to time it out or, like, yeah. Like, be like, okay, well, we can go get some lunch together because the kids are off doing their own things, but what if they come home hungry later?
Yeah.
Or
like, we need to be back in an hour because
Emma, because they're going to be home, we need to unlock the door, or they need to go somewhere, or...
Which is really nice.
Or even with Wyatt, like, we're on a time limit with him, too, because he does take naps, and he has to take it at a certain part of the day, so it's like, it's not like today, where I got to take 2 small naps today, whenever the hell I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, with Wyatt, it would have been like, okay.
I have to wait till this time.
I have to wait till this time to take this nap.
Yeah. Well,
don't attack me.
But also...
She's attacking me!
Well, then don't let her attack you.
Got it.
Thanks.
I just locked her in the bedroom.
But, like, I also know that, like, you do miss your kids. So, like,
yeah.
I know that there have been times where, like, we've had, like, a weekend together, like, done stuff where, like, yes, and we've talked about it. I don't take it personal, but, like...
Well, I'm glad you don't take it personal.
Well...
So I don't mean it personally.
I know, but, like, in the middle of, like, our weekend doing stuff, like, you'll just get really sad. And you'll just be like, it'd be really nice to be home. Or, like, with my kids. Like, I think
it's even harder.
I was just asking overall, like, is it difficult for you to have time, like, by yourself?
I mean, it kind of is, but at the same time, it's not difficult. I just miss them, is all.
Yeah.
it's no different than like, I don't know, it's no different than missing your own bed when you're at someone else's house or anything. It's like a comfort thing. It's like they're my comfort blanket. Like, oh, I forgot my blanket at, wherever, so now I don't have my blankie.
Blankie.
But I don't know, yeah, I miss those human beings sometimes.
I think it's really nice, and I never really understood, because I've never had kids before. I never really understood the whole, like, I don't know how to explain it. The little moments, like savoring the little moments with your kids thing that people would talk about all the time. Of like, this is a bad example, but like, I like sitting and eating with my kid. Like, I never, like, that seemed boring to me. I'm like, okay, like, why is that a thing? But like, with Wyatt, like, those are like some of the times that like I really appreciate, especially like with me working. It's a lot different now with me on third shift, because like I have more time to like actually play with them and do stuff and like go do things or whatever. But like, for a long time, like, I never understood that until like I just got those moments with just me and him, like when I would sleep with him, and like I really enjoyed that, like, because we had a when I was on second shift and like was here to like put him to sleep, like we had a whole thing of like, I don't know, it would be like, I love you, and like, night night, and stuff like that like, it was every night, and then he would go to sleep, and like, it was just stuff like,
I love you, baby shark. I love you, daddy shark. Yeah. And then he'd lay down with you and night,
and it was really nice, and I didn't really think about it then until
you didn't have it anymore.
Yeah, until I was back on third shift, and like you were putting him to sleep, or like you were putting him down for a nap or whatever, and I didn't really have that, and I didn't really like understand that until I went back to third shift, and I'm like, oh, like those like,
are the little things people are talking about.
Yeah, it made more sense to me. Yeah. And like, I think about that, like, when, that's why I asked the question, is because like when me and you are like when my dad sent me the video of Wyatt like doing the ABC thing, like
spelling his name,
yeah, like stuff like that I'm like, oh, that'd be really nice. Like, those moments are cool, like, things like that.
Yeah.
So also, I really love you, and I really like spending time with you. It's really nice.
Oh, back to me.
Oh, keep going.
No, it's okay. Keep going. I have a question though. What do you? Because you've basically been like a father to the girls since Alice was 3, so it's not like you missed out.
Alice was 4.
Okay, I mean maybe when we got together, yeah, but you met her when she was 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
When we moved here, she was 3.
I thought she was 4.
Emma was 5.
Okay. I know Emma was 5. I just thought
Alice was 2 years younger than Emma.
Okay.
Anyways, but I mean, so you've been.
That's crazy. That's even more crazy.
Been a father figure.
I've been putting it in my head that Alice was like 4.
Not that that's much different. That's not much different. That means you've only missed out on like a wide amount of time.
I know. That's what I'm saying, though. That's the gap that I've put in my head, and now like, I don't know, it's weird. And it is Wyatt. It's like,
yeah, and it doesn't seem like it's that much from this point of view. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, my question, I guess, because you always say that, like, especially like when I was pregnant and stuff, you always say that like you don't think men get that like paternal feeling until like.
Not truly. Not that men don't. Sorry.
That they have to like learn it.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah, not that they have it inherently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is did you ever like? Does it feel different with the girls than it does with Wyatt? And you can be honest; it doesn't matter. Like, I understand if it does. You're,
in different ways. In different ways. I feel like the overall maternal, paternal.
I think it's paternal. I don't know.
Whatever that like.
Fraternal.
That whatever. We'll just keep going down the alphabet or something.
Maternal.
Paternal, fraternal, paternal, maternal. Anyway.
My turtle.
Nocturnal.
Just kidding. Turtle.
But like
Nocturnal.
That over.
I don't know what that one got me.
That overall like protectiveness and that. No. Yeah. It's not different between the girls and Wyatt. But
that cat is literally climbing the door.
I know.
I can hear her climbing the door.
That bond is different though. Mm-hmm. And I said that, if not the last podcast, a few podcasts ago. I've said it recently. But, well, I'll explain what I mean. I think the initial, like, maternal instinct, I don't think men have. And I've said that. Mm-hmm. That's a choice. But I think most men have a protective instinct.
Yeah.
Over children. That is built in. That is in there. Whether you care for that child or not. That part of it. So I feel like every guy has that, but it's a different emotion. It's a different way of doing things. Because I can be protective over somebody and still not like care about their feelings or what they're going through or like trying to make them better like humans and like things like that, and just have that like I don't want them to die and I want them to survive whatever. So that's what I mean when I say that part is a choice. The loving part of it is a choice. But that part, the protectiveness, is where I started out with the girls, because I didn't see the growth. I didn't have all those years of. I mean, you said it with Wyatt multiple times that your patience is going to be different with him than it was with the girls because of having to go through those stages.
Of going through the stages with the girls.
And it's the same with the girls too. Is that like I always had it that I was going to let them have whatever relationship with me that they wanted. I wasn't going to force that kind of relationship with them. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to try to replace their dad. I wasn't going to try to assert my own, like, okay, I'm with your mom, these are the rules now, sort of thing. Like, I kind of left that open for a long time for the girls to for me and the girls to just kind of make that relationship where it kind of naturally happened.
Yeah.
Which helped me, like, with that relationship, is that, like, I do care about them. I do care about their feelings. I do care about how they feel. I've had both of them come to me with things that, like, shouldn't say normally you wouldn't go to your parents about, but, like, not, like, I don't know, like, emotional things. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
But, like...
things that you would expect your teenagers to hide from you.
Yeah. But with Wyatt, it wasn't, I say this all the time, it wasn't that overwhelming, like, I don't know, loving emotion that everybody says you get when you have kids. It wasn't that. It was just with him, I have more of a connection, not just because, like, he's mine, but because, like you've said, because I have had those times of him being a baby up until now.
Yeah.
I have seen the growth. I have seen him start forming words. I have seen him really commit to memory certain things.
Well, and you've seen the influence that you've had in his life.
I've seen the influence that I've had in the girls' life.
Yeah, but you've been with them for a lot. I mean, it's not like you came in as a stepdad in their teens. Like, you came in as a stepdad as their kids. But
like, I just started noticing it, like, recently.
Well, because it's hard to see it in other people's children.
Yeah.
I think as a child who had a stepdad in their teens, and as a mother of two children who grew up with a stepdad.
I never understood you and Dan until I saw you and Dan together. I was like, oh, That's right. Because you have things. You have things from Dan.
Yeah.
That are like a part of your personality.
Yeah.
Like just a part of your personality.
But it seems like it could have got it from my mom or my dad.
And I never noticed that until you two were around each other. And I'm like, oh. Yeah. Like that makes sense.
That's what she's talking about. Yeah. Well, in the other thing too that people don't really see, because it's not something that, like, I don't know, it's not something you can really compare us to, because you have to work with both of us to be able to compare us, but it's our integrity towards our work and what we do. Like, I have a lot of integrity towards, like, if I'm in any job, it doesn't matter what the job is. It could be the dorkiest whatever job in the world, and I'm going to have all the integrity in the world to do it correctly and do it the right way and do it the best that I can. And I feel like I got that from Dan. I feel like I got those parts of me from him, and I feel like those are some of my favorite parts of me, is because I'm like, I did it. Like, I achieved that. Like, I don't know, like, there's just certain things that have happened in my life that I'm like, I feel like that if Dan didn't play an influence in my life, those things wouldn't have happened the way they did. I mean, there's definitely things in my life that I wish hadn't happened like they did, but those have nothing to do with Dan. Those are my own trauma and my own bullshit that I had to work through in my own way.
I'm sure that we've talked about this before. In fact, I'm pretty sure that we've talked about this before, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you think having Dan and you had and Dan being your staple of, like, not to say this in a mean way, but the one that stayed, the one that worked out, because you had multiple, like, step parents.
Yeah, but I never saw any of them as.
But I know, but you had, like, there
were a few men in my mom's life.
Yeah,
that
and you did
played a role in mine.
And you did have different variations of that, like, figure too. You did have this boyfriend or whatever that was like, my rules now that I'm with your parents. Yeah. You did have, like, the one that, like, didn't really care and was just kind of like, man.
Yeah, but, like, and then,
yeah. So you did have, like, all of the variations of a, quote, step parent. Did that make a difference? Or, I know in some degree, but did that play a role in when we got together? Like, not necessarily like when we got together, because I know that your view when we got together was like, you need to prove that, like, you're trustworthy and, like, these are still my kids, and like, but, like, I understand. I don't know how to word that. We had already had this conversation before we got married, but, like, that official, like, you are now, like, their step parent. Like, did that play into how you thought of that or perceived that as far as, like, going forward?
I mean, it most definitely did, but I feel like my parents,
like, the signs sort of thing of, like, oh, I see the good signs, like, I had, so, like, this is okay, or, like,
yeah, well, it's so hard. It really is, especially being a person that grew up in a not healthy environment. It's seriously so hard to look for the signs, because some of what makes you feel comfortable is
toxicity.
Well, and it's hard, but yeah, you're gonna feel comfortable in what's known, and that's the hardest part of being someone who grew up in, like, I'm not trying to say it was a horrible environment, but there was definitely parts of my environment that were
unhealthy.
Yeah, and toxic, but I grew up in it, so it was known to me. So it's hard, like, I've been through a lot of relationships before you where they were extremely toxic, and it wasn't until I was, like, deep in the relationship that I was like, oh, I got with this guy because he reminds me of, like, this, and that's not
okay.
Yeah, like, and it takes a little trial and error, but I think more of me going through that played a lot more role on being more picky than about my children than it was about. Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one because I feel because a lot of me. So one of the first things I said to you when it came to meeting the girls, not even about us or anything like that, it just came to meeting the girls. I was like, if you're going to get close to them and pretend to be their friend or their father figure or whatever, you do not get to leave. You don't get to just. It doesn't matter what happens between me and you. These are my children. I'm here to protect them. You don't get to just ditch them. You don't get to form this relationship with them and then, bye, I'll never see you again. Like, sorry, no, that's not going to happen. And so I'm like, I told you right off, if you're going to make a relationship with them and you don't plan to stay in their lives for the rest of their lives, no matter what happens between me and you, then just don't bother starting a relationship with them. And a lot of that was because of me watching them lose people in their life. And I remember what it felt like to lose people in my life. Like, I got attached to certain things or certain people. Like, I didn't really get attached to a lot of the men that my mom dated up until Dan, but I got attached to the one guy's kids. Like, I loved those kids. So it's things that, you know what I mean? Like, I know what it feels like to be attached to something and then just have it ripped away because the relationship didn't work. And so I made it very clear. And I had seen that I had done it to the girls too. And I was like, okay, so I brought these people into their lives and then they just left. And that's not healthy for them either. And luckily I noticed that at a really early age for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, for them, it was really early.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully I figured that all out before I was 21. So like the girls were really young when I figured that shit out.
Was there... and if you don't remember, you don't have to answer. But was there like a time where you're like, okay, we're fine, like we're gonna? Because I know that there was.
It took.
Because I know that there was a long time.
It took a long time.
Yeah, there was a long time where like you were still figuring it out.
But a lot of that was me and not you, because you were safe feeling from the start. But I think the fact that you felt so safe was kind of the scariest part of it.
Like you were waiting.
Like
for
I'm
you
like,
to be proved wrong.
There's something like he's too safe. Like you know what I mean? Yeah. Like when you've been through like trauma and stuff, like you get like that. Like you sometimes you feel like you don't deserve what you have, and sometimes you feel like there's no way this can be real. And I feel like I felt a lot of that with you. Both of those things with you, like from the start. Like it was like he's too sweet, he's too right, and he's too safe. Like I felt so safe with you instantly. And I was like, and I think that's what made it so hard for me to introduce you to the girls, was because like there's something off about someone feeling that safe. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with him now or that he's not safe, because he definitely is a safe person.
She was right until she was wrong. Dun, dun, dun.
But like
the murder mysteries.
Yeah.
They were in a healthy relationship until they weren't.
Oh, it's such a good show. You really gotta watch it.
I don't want.
Oh, please though, you're gonna love it, and then we can watch it together. Anyways.
But like I was asking like if there was like a moment or like a scenario.
That's hard to say because
like, okay. We're good.
That's hard to say because I feel like it was like slowly over a long period of time. Like I feel like it was more. I don't feel like there was
a proof and concept
necessarily.
Thing?
Yeah, I don't feel like there's necessarily instances that were like, oh, okay, like because I've seen all that from toxic men. You know what I mean? Like I've seen
The Mask.
Yeah.
The good guy routine.
Oh yeah, he does this with her. He does that with her. He's so good with her. Like, that's scary too. Like, why is he so close to her? Why is he, And you had that thing with Alice too, where like you were like something attracted you to Alice like instantly.
I told you what it.
And I know. I'm just saying, like, and that as a parent.
Was weird.
Is scary.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, is this like, innocent and genuine, or is there something malicious behind this?
Mm-hmm. And especially, I mean, we've talked about this over the years, but especially coming from your background and things like that's like an instant trigger, like not like not like there's signs and like this might be happening.
Well,
but like it's like an instant, like the moment you see anything like close.
Yeah. And it is like that, you know, and it sucks, but I also feel like it made us healthier from the start too, because I could see that you were respecting my boundaries, and you were seeing that I was laying clear boundaries. And I think that helped us a lot later on too, of like knowing like, okay, like me being able to voice boundaries with you, knowing that I can voice boundaries with you was great, because I hadn't been in a relationship before where I could voice boundaries without it becoming a fight. If I had said half the things I said to you from the start to almost any other guy I've been with, it'd been like, well, what don't you trust about me? What is it about me that makes you think that way? And it's like, it's not you. I have trauma. It's men. Like, it's not you. I'd feel the same way if I was dating a woman. It's people, really. It's not even like men necessarily. It's, I don't trust people. I think people have malicious intent. Especially if they come to me. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is it about me that you like? Like, can you see my trauma? Is it written on my face? You know, because you always hear that. What? That was. Well, and you always hear that too. And even when I went to therapy for some of my shit, they tell you that. They tell you that, you know, a lot of the times when, you know, there's been SA or stuff like that, those people kind of get it over and over. It kind of just happens to them over and over. So when you've been through it and you hear that from people, your brain turns that into like a defense mechanism of like, oh, this person really likes me, but why? Yeah. Why do they like me? What are they trying to gain? What are they getting from me? What negative part of me? Yeah, like I said, can they read the trauma on my face? Is that what it is? Like they're like, oh, she's an easy target. Like, well, and but I've never made myself an easy target, so.
But it was kind of, I mean, not in the same way. I've said this for a while. I mean, in different ways, we've both talked about how it doesn't matter how bad your trauma is trauma. But yeah. But in the same way, like that's how I was with you. Yeah. For a long time, like you.
Well, and I knew that too.
And for a long time, I was waiting. And I know you were too. In the opposite.
We were both just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
But it was just too. It was too perfect. It was too understanding. The thing about you that I waited the longest for it to change was the communication. Yeah. Because like
same.
Because we never fought. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, we still haven't.
Yeah, I mean, we've had our bickerments or whatever, but we haven't. The kind of fights that we came from, we didn't.
But coming from but that's what I was gonna say. But coming from a relationship where like I could tell you half of what I'm feeling, and it would turn into an argument, and the fact that I was with you and could like really tell you how I was feeling, and it wouldn't turn into an argument, and we were able to talk about it or like work through it or whatever. That was the one that I was waiting, because I was like,
that's the thing, though. That's such a beautiful thing.
Because I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's no fucking way that this is gonna last. Yeah. Like I say this all the time. Everybody's perfect when they start a relationship. Yeah. Because you're trying to be.
Yeah, because you're trying. Yeah.
And especially like before. I don't want to lump this in with the stereotype because I fucking hate that stereotype. But especially before marriage, because everybody's trying to get to that goal point.
Well, yeah.
Everybody's trying to be the perfect person to get married, and then you're like, "Well, you married me. You're gonna have to deal with it now."
I think it's like I told you before in this podcast. I think it's the high expectations of what you think should be happening.
But that part of it specifically, I was waiting for. I was waiting when we got married. I was waiting for like me to say something about like, hey, I don't like that you said that, or like, you're really making me angry, or like something to that effect, and you just go off. Mm-hmm. Like I had seen and been in
and same
and dealt with.
Same.
And it just never happened, and so I was like, "Oh, cool."
So I mean, you've seen it. You've seen it because I've had to do it in front of you with my ex, like because we share kids, and I've had to sit there and be like, "Well, I don't like that you said that," and then be screamed at. Because
the one I know specific, and I don't know if you do. I do. I know specifically the moment and context and conversation that we had to where I was like, "Okay, we're good. Like this is a real thing." Is when you were angry about something. I don't remember the specifics as far as that goes, but you were angry about something, and you like we were starting to get heated, and you yelled at me, and I looked at you and I went, "You're not going to yell at me. If you want to talk about this, we can talk about it, but you're not going to yell at me," which pissed you off even more. Mm-hmm. And you were like, "I'm not trying to yell," but you yelled it at me, and I'm like, "I'm not doing this. You need to stop, or I'm going to leave." Mm-hmm. And then, like, you left the room and came back, and we talked about it. And it was that moment that I'm like, "Oh, so it's like this is like a real thing." Because we did talk about it, mm-hmm. and we did work through it, and it wasn't like you shouldn't have said that to me, or you weren't listening, or like
you triggered me.
Yeah, or like whatever. Like
I'm sorry, but
yeah, like I had been in other relationships, and then like that moment specifically, that's why I know it, is because like that moment I was like, "Oh, okay. It's like a real thing."
Well, and just like that situation, like that, I know how I felt in that situation because I was there. But like when you said you're not going to yell at me, we're not going to do this, it made me more angry because I have that in me of like don't fucking tell me what to do. Hmm? And so that immediately came out instead of me thinking through and being like, "Okay, calm down, let's talk about this." So like immediately I was like, "I'm not fucking yelling." Like, and it's like, "Yeah, you are."
Well, that was for the person in the relationship, because in my past relationships, for the most part, I was that person that would just let somebody like abuse me, mm-hmm. in a lot of different ways. But like that specifically, like with arguments, I would be the person that'd be like, "Yeah, you're right. It's my fault." Like even if like I
that's like the one thing you do that like really like ramps me up. I know. Like if we're in any kind of like tiff or anything, and like we're just bickering back and forth, the minute he goes, "Yeah, you're right, I'm wrong," I'm like, "Oh!"
But like it was a defensive mechanism for me for a long time.
Yeah.
Because like that's how that relationship was, and I'm not, and I've said will continue to say this. I've said this over the years many times. The older that I get, the more I understand. And I'm not putting blame on my past relationships. It was a toxic environment, and it was two people that shouldn't have been together, and we forced it together for way too long.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying like she's a horrible person or like she was the reason, but like because of that relationship, it was a lot of like push and push and push on her end. Of like, "No, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right." So as a defensive mechanism, I would just be like, "Yeah, you're right," because I didn't want to argue about it, nor did I want.
Which is probably why that was a defense mechanism.
Nor did
if you really want to get deep in it, because she knew that you were just saying it to appease her.
Yeah.
And you didn't actually believe it. And so in her, it probably became more and more of I need to control the situation. He doesn't even care or listen to me.
Or I need to feel like
I need you to understand,
really understand. Yeah.
Why I was right.
Because I've done, I mean, that was just for the most part. I've done both sides.
Yeah.
Like I've also been on that side of it. I've been like, "No, you don't get it." Yeah. Like even when they're like genuine and be like, "Yeah, I understand where you're coming from." No, you fucking don't. Because you haven't sat there and given me a 10-page essay about why you're sorry. So you don't get it.
Yeah.
So let me repeat it.
I'm having to tell you to say sorry.
Let me repeat it 4 more times because you don't get it.
And you are like that. Not with me, but you do it to the girls when they upset you.
But because of that.
I don't know if you don't do it with me because you know I'm not going to put up with it or what, but.
Well, No, I don't think it's that. I think it's because of this. I think it's because like I've learned
because I actually validate what you're saying instead of just sitting there and stonewalling you.
Yeah. And so like that part of it, bringing it into this relationship, that's why that specific moment in our relationship is why I was like, oh, we're good. Is because I had, up until that point, I had moments where like I'm like, I really want to say this. I'm like, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth saying it or whatever. And I always felt that way in certain like disagreements or like even conversations that we had, not even like a heated, but like I wanted to say something and I'm like, it's not worth it. Like it's just going to cause a thing and I don't want to talk about it. And so I didn't for a long time. And in that moment, I finally, because I hadn't said that to you our whole relationship. Like I hadn't done that to you, like really like put my foot down kind of way of like, no, until that moment. And then you treated it in that moment of like, okay, we're still going to like figure this out. That was like, okay, we're good. Like, I don't have to
tiptoe anymore. I don't have to walk on eggshells.
I don't have to be that. I don't have to be that person that's like, yep, my fault.
See, and that's the thing. Like,
I think it helped our relationship more. Yeah. So, because we are able to say things and talk about things and like in a way of like, why shouldn't talk about that? Because it's not worth talking about. You know
everything's worth talking about. If it gets into your brain and you're thinking about it, it's worth talking about.
Yeah.
And if they can't handle that you felt that way, then that's on them.
Even if it's a negative thing, like even something so little as like, and
I don't like the way you joked about my.
Well, I'm going to use this as an example, and I'm going to preface this saying I know this is a trigger for you, and I'm sorry, but I'm using it.
We're about to fight on the podcast. Flipping tables.
No, but I'm using it as my example. Like even your trauma with your singing and your voice and whatever, and I love your voice and I love you singing, and I will continue to push that into your brain until the rest of that leaves. But you have a voice that is very loud.
Yeah.
And it's very like, and that's part of why like you're singing is because you are able to sing in a way that's very powerful. Mm-hmm. And it's really nice to hear. But there are times, because I have sensitive ears, there are times where
I have a belt and you are autistic. No, I'm just kidding. Artistic, yeah.
That it hurts my ears.
Yeah.
And like I think moving past those other things, it makes it a lot easier to be like, hey, like I understand that you really like are enjoying the song and I love your voice and I love you singing, but like,
can you sing out the window or take it down a notch?
Yeah. Whereas like normally in that situation I would just like I would just deal with it and be like,
and because we've talked about it before, for the most part, I try to consider that too, and that's why a lot of the times I'll sing at the window instead of singing like into the car, or like if we're in the house, like I'll sing in the other room so that way it's not like right next to you, because like I get it, like I know I'm loud, I hear it, like there's times where my ears are like, wow, that was loud. Like,
I wish I could get, and I understand that you know that your voice is loud, but I wish I could get you to understand how great your voice is in that regard. Mm. Because, like, I don't know how to explain it, but because you naturally project your voice, like not just with singing, but like with talking and like things too, because your voice naturally is like in front of a megaphone. When you sing, it like the emotion behind you singing, because you're also a very emotional singer as well, is like it cuts your soul. Like I've told you that before. Like it's so great and it's so awesome. And that's why I love your voice so much. Mm. It's just there are times that like it also hurts.
But that's another thing. Okay, so that's another example though of like good communicating, of like just because I didn't like it this one time doesn't mean I don't like when you do that. And a lot of people in relationships don't understand that. I know, especially in like my past relationships, we've had in my past relationships, I've had moments where I'm like we're fighting or arguing, and I'm like, I just feel like obsolete from you. I feel alone. I don't feel. And they're like, what do you mean? Why do you feel that way? And I'm like, well, you used to do this, and now you don't do it anymore. And I really liked that. And they're like, well, one time you got mad at me and told me not to touch you. And I'm like, okay, but that's like circumstantial sometimes. It's not like, did you fucking piss me off and then just try to blow it off because you thought you could do this one thing and it would just blow over? Yeah. Or, I'm not saying that's always the example either, but sometimes, like, because we've talked about it and because you know me, there's times where I get extremely overwhelmed by just simple little things. And, like, it could be the temperature of the room. It could be the feeling of my seam in my clothes. And all of a sudden, I'm just completely fucking triggered. And one touch of, like, the shoulder is, like, it's, like, stabbing through my entire body. It doesn't matter who it's from or how loving it is. Like, it's like, oh, God, don't fucking touch me. And it sucks being like that with people who don't understand it, because it's like, I don't want you to stop touching me ever. I love when you touch me. I love when you grab at me. I love when you like come up behind me and hug me, but there's times where I'm going to look at you and be like, could you not? Can you not? And it's not like, I'm not mad at you in those times. It's not like offensively like, ew, God, don't fucking touch me. Like, it's like, okay, I'm feeling some kind of way right now. So like, can you stay on that side of the couch for a minute? But I don't know. It's just learning those things has helped immensely.
Has being in what we would like to say a healthy relationship.
The healthiest one we know. So
I was gonna say other people could be the judge of that. There's plenty of podcasts to go back and reference and be like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
This is toxic as shit, but whatever delusion they want to live in.
Whatever. Has being in a healthy relationship helped or changed having kids?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I feel like
Is it is it in different ways with the girls and Wyatt, or is it just all together like?
No, it's kind of different, but only because I was in a different kind of relationship when the girls were Wyatt's age.
Yeah.
So like I feel like now, because of the relationship I have with you, that I have so much more time to pay attention to the kids. Whereas like in toxic relationships, I'm also toxic. Like I'm not going to by any means sit here and say that I'm not a toxic person, because
you're the problem.
I definitely have toxic traits as well.
Yeah, you do.
And toxicity feeds each other. It's just the way it works. And so when you're in a relationship like that, it's like everything else is clouded by this big storm of fights and arguments and bullshit. And it's like
well, it also changes your perspective on just situations.
Yeah.
Like if you're fighting with your significant other, sorry.
No, you're fine.
But if you're fighting with like your significant other and then you go to like sit down with your baby while they're like playing blocks, you're going to be angry at this situation.
Yeah, and you're not thinking about the situation as a moment to remember.
Yeah, you're just like,
you're just like, yeah, let's play with fucking blocks. Like, I mean, you're not like that either. Like, you're still, at least I wasn't. I still, like, I was able to detach the two mentally.
Yeah.
But I don't have those memories like I do with Wyatt. Like, I don't, and I know you could say that it's because Wyatt's so much closer, like, than then. But I don't think it is, because I have all these memories of the girls since I've been with you, and it's like there's like bits and pieces from before you. There's like no like well, except for the time I was single before you. That time I remember everything with the girls, but like in that toxic relationship or toxic relationships I've been in with the girls growing up, I feel like I spent so much time being angry and upset and wondering what they're doing and worried about what kind of fight we're going to have later, that like I did not get to have those moments with the girls. I didn't get to have those, like, it was like survival mode constantly from the time Emma was born until we moved out here. It was just straight survival mode. And I feel like, I mean, it was more than just my relationship that caused that, of course, because, like, I was pretty much homeless. Like, if it weren't for the fact that I put my home over every other bill and anything, we definitely would have been homeless. But I always put a roof over every other, no matter what happened, we had a roof. Like, but, there was times where I was having to ask people for food or get food from the food bank, or like there was a whole time period where the only food we had in the house was food bank food. It wasn't like, oh, we went to the food bank and then whatever we needed besides that food, we went to the store and got, which is what it's supposed to be like. Because they only give you like essentials at the food bank. Like, you know what I mean? Like you get bread, but you don't get butter. Like you get, peas, but you don't get salt and pepper to make them taste good. Like you know what I mean? So, and there was a period of time for me in Nevada where the food bank food was it. Like that's it. We get plain bread and plain peas. Like that's what we're eating tonight. And it's so, there was more to my survival mode than just my relationship. But it's like, but my relationship just made even that 10 times worse.
Does that you've been through a lot more than I have, but does that affect your memory of that time?
I think the more trauma you've had of a time, the more you want to forget. And I think it really sucks because I feel like it took away from any of the good memories I do have of the girls. I feel like they kind of got blocked over by trauma.
Well, because and I've said this. I have my own personal theories, but I'm missing memory-wise a whole chunk of time.
Yeah, me too.
From like right before we got together. And it's not necessarily, I've talked about it in one of the podcasts. I don't know how to explain that. I didn't know how to explain it before. The sole reference, you know how like you can't really remember something, but you can remember like the feeling like in that time frame. That makes sense?
Okay.
I am detached emotionally, so much so from like before we got together. But I still have memories from before we got together. But there's a chunk of time that I don't. I have like no like random. Like,
okay, but there's also a chunk of time that you were really drunk.
Fair.
Okay.
Fair.
So there were other influences to it.
No, that's fair. But also, like even outside of that, even like times when I wasn't and times when I wasn't doing anything or whatever. Like there's a whole chunk of time that I don't have memories from, really. And I was just wondering if I know your memory is astoundingly good, even in.
I'm glad someone said that.
Even in like.
I've been told my whole life that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm crazy.
Even in like traumatic events, but do you have times that did affect that though, because of how much survival that you've been in?
I think for sure I did. I mean, I remember a lot of things, and like it does suck having such a good memory because there are a lot of trauma that I just like
you can't forget.
Would love to forget, but I can't. Like, and it still affects me. Like, that we've talked about it, and I've told you that there's times where I'll just be driving down the road and I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? Like, why did I put up with that? Why did I deal with that? And it's like, what does that even matter now? Like, why am I even thinking about this? Like, why did this come into my brain? I don't live this life. I'm not that same person anymore. Like,
also, what the fuck am I gonna do about it now?
Yeah, what am I gonna do about it now? What does it matter? Like,
you're gonna do that 12 steps thing and call people up and be like, I'm sorry for 12 years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, but there are like, there's things that are missing, but I feel like the worst part about it is I feel like it's not the trauma that's missing. I feel like it's all the good things that are missing. I feel like the trauma is all there, like all the arguments, all the fights, like even what the fights were about. Like that's the crazy part to me, is because like almost 100% of the time I can't even remember what our fights are about. Well, our tiffs or whatever. But I could tell you exactly what me and him
like
fought about. Like on this specific day of this year of this, this time of the day, like, and it's like, it's just, I don't know. It just sucks that I remember those things, but then like, what was the theme of my daughter's second birthday party? Like, you know what I mean? Like what, I don't know what the theme of Alice's second birthday party was. I could tell you Emma's themes until she was 4, and I could tell you Alice's themes
after.
No, 1.
Really?
I could tell you her first theme, and I could tell you her third theme, which was here when we had it.
Yeah.
So, or her fourth theme. Sorry, not her third. I don't remember her second or third. Yeah. And it's like, and like I can tell you some things. Like I can tell you, I don't know. Like I can tell you what we got Emma for her second birthday, but like,
not the little things, the important things, so to speak.
Yeah. Like I don't, like I have photos to remind me. Some, I don't have a lot of photos either because that was also like a thing. But like,
do you
like if it weren't for the photos of, I think if it weren't for the photos that I have of Emma on the potty chair, I don't think I would really remember Emma potty training. But because of those photos and me knowing the story behind the photos, I think that's why I remember it. Because I don't really remember potty training Alice. Not really.
I have one last question. And then we can stop. We've been talking for a while.
Okay.
It's like well over an hour.
Yeah.
But, okay, so there is things that I've done in past relationships that I don't really think about, but I consciously thought about, like, don't do this. Me and you have talked about this, that when we got in a relationship, we had kind of a blueprint of how we didn't want to have a relationship.
How we didn't want things to go.
Yeah. And we had talked about that early on in our relationship of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. So we're going to have to figure something out because I just don't want to be in this type of relationship.
Yeah.
There's something that I really appreciate now about our relationship that I look back on as like a big example not only for me as like a toxic relationship, looking back on it now, but like in a way of like, I never want to have a relationship like that again.
Yeah.
And that was when me and my ex-girlfriend got in an argument at my house, which was like 4 blocks away from her apartment, right? We got an apartment there. She left. I called her. She didn't answer. She was angry. So I walked over to her apartment. Her door was locked. I found her roommate's spare key, opened the door, went in her room to confront her about why we were fighting. And then I told her, I remember telling her, we're going to finish this before you go to sleep because we need to figure this out. That happened 3 times in our relationship, by the way. But like, I always look back on that now of being like, why? Mm-hmm. Like it.
Why was that necessary?
Just objectively from the relationship that we have, I look back on that and I'm like, why did that matter?
Yeah.
Like, what was worth all of that
yeah.
to do so? But also, like, in that regard, that's the one that sticks out of, like, I don't want to be
that person
anymore.
I don't want to ever get to that level of crazy again.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you, is there like something, I know that you have a lot of things that stand out to you, like, that you didn't want to do in this relationship, but do you have, like, something like that of, like, your personality that you had in your past relationships that you consciously
I don't necessarily think it ever goes away. I think you just consciously choose not to.
Yeah.
Not to.
Well, like, even that, like, yeah. But, like, because even in that, like, there are situations where I've been like, let it go.
Yeah, like, you don't have to chase her. It's fine. She will come back and talk to you.
But, like, did you or do you have something about, like, your personality or how you would normally have handled it that you consciously have to be like, don't do that, or I don't want to be that person, or whatever?
Yeah, and I've told you this because this is the big one for me. It's when I walk away from the argument. Like, and I know that we had to work through that together because that was a trigger for you. Just like you said, like, she walked away from you and you had to follow her. You had to figure out, and so that was something that we had to work through together, and I had to show you, like, through time, like, I am going to come back to this conversation, but I have to have this minute for myself because, and we've talked about it, I talk about it all the time, like, I am the type of person that when I feel like I'm trapped in a corner, I'm the mouse that's gonna bite my leg off.
I'm gonna kill you.
Like,
first.
I'm gonna like, I will do anything to get out of the situation, and by anything I mean my brain is going to make my mouth say some of the most horrendous things you have ever fucking heard about yourself. I will call you things that you didn't even know people thought about you.
And 90% of them are going to be true.
No. And that's the worst part, is almost none of it I ever am actually thinking. It's just because you trapped me and I know you so well that I know what's going to hurt when I say it. And so, like, if we're in a heated discussion and I'm feeling like I'm getting trapped in it, like, I feel like I'm not being heard, I feel like you're only saying your side, or like it starts getting to like a decimal level, my brain immediately goes into that trigger of like, you have to attack now. You're no longer on the defense anymore. You are on the attack now. And when that happens, I have to tell myself, step away. I have to be like, okay, you need to walk away from this because you're going to say something that you don't mean and you're going to regret it because it's going to hurt them and they're going to remember that for the rest of your relationship. And that's something that I have like made sure I did with you from the start. And I still am like, I refuse to say those things to you because I'm like, I don't mean it and I don't want to hurt you. And I know this is going to sound fucked up, but you've never given me a reason to hurt you. Like, you've never given me a real reason to hurt you. Like, yeah, I felt trapped sometimes in arguments, but that's just because it's an argument. Like, you've never like hurt me. Yeah. So I don't want to hurt you. And so I made that conscious decision of like, okay, you have to walk away now. Like, and I have to also remind myself that that's not something you like. So I have to, in that moment, I have to tell my brain to shut the fuck up and play the pre-recorded message that I have about, I'm going to walk away for a minute to cool down. Yeah.
Cheryl needs a minute to walk away. Please leave a message.
Please don't speak for the next 10 minutes so she doesn't say something horrific. You know, like, it's because that's something that I didn't even know I could do before you. I didn't know I could walk away. I didn't know. I mean,
there was a real.
I knew I could because I'm a human being and I have legs. But the relationships I've been in before, anytime I've tried to walk away, I got what you did. I was chased. I was confronted. I was forced. I mean, you know some of the ways I've tried to get out of it. And that's crazy too. But like, but yeah, those are definitely things that I'm like, that too. Like, I'll never put myself, as far as like the opposite of what you're saying, I'll never put myself in a situation where I feel so trapped that I'm going to go to the bathroom and hold my breath till I pass out so I don't have to hear them anymore. Yeah. I'll never do that again. If I ever feel like I'm in that situation again,
that's good.
Like, I won't put myself or my kids through that ever again. Because, like, your kids see and hear everything. Whether you think they do or not, they do. Period. And I know that because I was a child of that. Like,
yeah. That's my last question.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you're like, if this ever happens to me again? Like, if I ever feel like I'm in this situation again? I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of mine have to do with abuse, period.
Mine has to do with abuse.
Yeah.
Mine has to do with mine has to do with both physical and mental abuse in the same action, actually. My big thing, and I said this, me and you have talked about this, and I'll preface this by saying, I understand in the situation there's different circumstances in a different relationship. So, is what it is. But when it took you saying that's not okay for it to really click in my head of all of the circumstances that surrounded that situation.
Yeah.
Because, like, me and my ex-girlfriend, when we were going through all of our shit about, like, she thinking that I cheated on her with you and, like, all this stuff and me trying to get back with her, whatever.
Yeah.
I was so focused on the already embedded trauma I had of, like, situations like that. Like, I need to be the one to cut off my hands to fix the situation.
Yeah,
like,
I'll do anything to make you believe that.
Which had been embedded in my brain during that whole relationship, because that was how arguments stopped. Was I had to be the one to, like, apologize. I had to be the one.
It didn't matter who was wrong or who was right.
To do the flowers and the whole 9 yards.
So if you felt like you were in the wrong, it was even worse.
Yeah, and so in that situation, I had tried everything up to that point that I knew of to fix that situation, and it still wasn't working. And she was just so angry about the situation because she also, on the other side, was so convinced that I had cheated on her.
Yeah.
And nothing.
And it didn't matter what you said or did.
Nothing was going to fix that. And so I had told her in that situation, like, well, if you're really so angry, like, just hit me or punch me or something to, like, make you feel better or whatever. And she did.
Yeah.
And that's it right there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get to the point of, like, being like that, of being like, because I was totally, like, accepting, and you even knew when I talked to you about it years later, years after that, and you were like, that's not okay. But I had, like, fully, like, been like, no, it was okay. Like,
no.
I even told you that. Like, it was like, I'd fully, like,
it wasn't okay that you, like, convinced yourself that it was okay for her to hit you. It wasn't okay for you to tell her to hit you, and it wasn't okay for her to actually act upon it either.
Yeah. But, like, I had been so wrapped in that whole circumstances around that, like, I saw it as a good thing. And I convinced myself that it was a good thing for a long time.
Well, and the worst part about situations like that specifically is if your guys' relationship had continued past that point, that would have been like a norm.
That would have already been a precedent.
That would have become a norm because it was allowed.
Yeah.
And that's, there has to be boundaries. There has to be, it doesn't matter if, like, it doesn't matter what is going on in your relationship or who did what. There has to be set boundaries of, it doesn't matter what happens, these things cannot happen or I'm done. Because if you don't have those boundaries, you're just going to allow things to keep happening. You can't have, and I learned this from my old relationship, you can't have like false promises. You can't do that shit. You can't be like, I'm not gonna fucking stay with you if you keep doing this bullshit, but then you don't leave them. Like they're never gonna believe you. They're never gonna respect your boundaries or your decision.
You keep having the, well, next time it'll be different mindset.
Yeah, and they are not having that. They're like, oh, okay, so it doesn't matter what I do, she's not leaving. Or he's not leaving. You know, and I went through that. You know that. You know, I was like, well, you know, if you cheat on me ever again, that's it. But I got back with him after he cheated on me, so what does it matter? Like, or like the money situation. And it took me having to put down a hard boundary and stick to it for him to realize that I'm not paying your fucking debts anymore. I'm not, you know, because it was so many years. It wasn't just, it was from the beginning of our relationship when we were teenagers, of like going to court with him, supporting him in court, and dealing with him continuously getting in trouble with the law. And then when we were adults, I was paying his court fees. I was paying for, you know, his tickets and his whatever. And, you know, I never bailed him out, but I still paid for the ticket after. I still paid for whatever classes he needed to take because he did the thing or whatever. I paid for him to get his license back. I paid for him, you know, and it took me being like, I'm not paying your tickets anymore. I'm not paying your tickets anymore. I'm not going to court with you anymore. Like, the court thing was a big one too because the judge in that town was a family friend. And so it was like I was almost playing the heartstrings by me and my kids showing up there. And it was like, no, he needs to have real responsibilities to his fucking actions. He really needs
to figure it out.
And not just keep getting off easy because
of me.
Because I'm like, because we have family friends with people in charge. Like, that's not, and I'm not saying she did that. I just didn't want to be an influence
even
if
be
it
an
was
option.
there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she did. I think she really...
I think
everyone really believed that Jake could be better. And I think that's what made it so hard for me, too, with that boundary of you could be better, is because we all believed he could be better. And we all wanted to believe it. I'm not saying he's not better now. I'm just saying we all believed it so much that everyone, including the judge, the town judge, had this image of him like he could be a great husband, a great dad, a great human being. He could be, you know, upstanding citizen. And it took me, like I said, it took me being like, I'm not paying this anymore. And like he did, you know, he played the game, he did the manipulation, he did all that. He was like, well, if you don't pay him, I'm gonna go to jail. And I'm like, okay, so you're gonna go to jail. And he's like, well, then how are you gonna go to work if I'm not home? And I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to figure it out. Just like any other time you went to jail. Every other time you went to jail, I had to figure it out. So obviously I can do it. Doesn't mean I'm gonna want to, no, but if it's what I have to do, then it's what I have to do. If this is what it's going to take for you to be responsible for your own actions, you know.
I think that's the only, and it's not as hard anymore with you. Like, I still have to continuously, like, it's still a choice. And I have to still continuously, like, be like, no, we're not going to do that, or no, I'm not going to think that, or whatever the case is. But that really is like the hard one of like, I never want to be so fucked up, like, mentally in a relationship where like I want to get back to like, that's okay. Like, because like I said, that I fully convinced myself like that was fine.
Well, and that's why,
and like you said, like
that's kind of what I was trying to get to, but I kind of went off. But like, that's why boundaries are important, and they're important to stick to.
Yeah, like you saying, like it would have been a continuous thing.
It would have, though.
I know, but I'm saying, like, in that moment, that would have been fine with me. Like, I had, like...
Which is nuts.
Like, I had convinced myself that, like, if this continue... And I remember thinking that, if this is a continuous thing...
Yeah.
Like, I even had the forethought of, like,
that's
that
where you have
in
to
that
step back and
situation
look at that situation and be like, my self-confidence was so shot
that
I thought I deserved to continuously be hit.
Yeah, if this was a I remember thinking that in the situation, if this is a continuous thing and we'll fix this, that's okay with me. And I never want to, that's been my thing. I never want to, which luckily isn't even in the same realm.
And it's so weird to be in a relationship now where that kind of thinking is like, oh, what the fuck? Because I remember being in that kind of mindset that you were in that moment. Mm-hmm. I remember being in that mindset thinking this is real love.
Yep.
Someone who really loves someone would put up with this for them. Would be willing to deal with this for them.
100%.
And it's like now you look back at it being in the relationship. I don't know about you, but for me, I look back at it being in the relationship I'm in now and having the healthy relationship I have now. I'm like that's not even how love works. Love is and I don't want to be so cliche, but that Bible verse, that's real. Mm-hmm. Love is patient. Mm-hmm. Love is kind. It really fucking is. Mm-hmm. And what that was before, that wasn't love.
Yep.
That wasn't love. That was a need. That was a void that had to be filled. That was a grasp that it's not even a grasp he had on me. It was a grasp I had on myself.
Yep. For sure.
Of I can't let this go. I need this. Mm-hmm. Why did I need that? I didn't need that.
Well, I and that's part of we really should stop talking.
Okay.
Because it's because we're almost at 2 hours. But if not longer, because I kind of checked your phone 10, 15 minutes after we started talking.
Whoops.
But even in even in that moment of that, looking back on it, and that's why when you pointed it out, and I started actually looking at the situation and whatever.
Yeah.
When I started looking at the actual ins and outs of it outside, because I was removed from it for so long at that point. But 100% what you were saying, it had nothing to do with the relationship. It had nothing to do with her. It had to do with I wasn't ready.
This is what I know. This is what feels safe. To let
that part of it go. Yeah. And so I was like, if this thing, whatever that was, if this helps this continue, then it is what it is. If I have to do this or go through this or whatever for this to keep going, then that's fine with me.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird looking back on it that I'm like, why? Because even she has admitted since then.
Well, and
I've admitted since then that relationship, if we're being honest, that relationship was over long before that point.
Yeah.
We had already stopped communicating. We had already kind of separated our own lives away from the relationship. But we were doing all of the happy relationship things, but there was no emotional tie to those things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We would go on dates, but there wasn't this, us talking. It was how was your day? Good, cool,
okay, thanks, let's eat.
Yeah, things like that. And so I look back on that particular moment in time in that relationship, and I'm objectively, what was the point of me wanting to hold that, wanting to keep that going? There's no benefit in that, especially at that time. There's no benefit in that other than the codependence of this is what I've always known. This is what I know.
Here's something crazy that I just thought of about that situation, and I've said this before, but I've never thought of it in this way, I guess. Mm-hmm. Is so a situation of someone else's trash is someone else's treasure kind of thing. The same situation in which caused so much turmoil between you two and caused so much untrust between you two caused so much trust in me towards you. It's so funny that the same situation that caused her to not trust you at all is the same situation that caused me to fully trust you. as far as like our relationship. Like, I mean, not like, I know we've talked about kids and stuff early in this podcast. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But as far as like my emotions, like in your hands, or like as far as infidelity, I was like, oh man, this guy is like the real deal. Because like I'm not trying to make myself sound like a shitty person or anything. Thanks. But you know, we did shitty things. It wasn't it wasn't all fucking glam and glitter. Like, you had a relationship. Whether that relationship was done or not, I should have respected that. And I knew you loved me. Like,
I think I'm not making excuses for that whole situation, because like I've admitted that I never cheated on my ex-girlfriend, but there was many lines that were
many
crossed,
lines have been crossed, for sure.
That were crossed other than sexual wise.
Yes.
That shouldn't happen.
Which, I mean, and that's where also at the same time, it's like, can you really say you didn't cheat on her though? Because for some people, the emotional side of that and the flirting side of that, you did cheat on her.
Yep.
You did, break that trust.
I agree.
But for me, because of who I am, and like, I don't care if you flirt with other people. I don't care if you like want to hold hands with your fucking girlfriend. Like, I don't care. Don't fuck them. Like, don't fuck them.
Yeah.
Not without a conversation, at least, like, of like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is how I feel. Like, oh, okay, well, let's see if we can work through this first, or see if there's something we can do. But I put you through so much, like, in that time, and you were so strong. Like, you were so held in your convictions of like, I can't do that. And you had a line, and you drew it. I'm not saying it was a line that she would have appreciated, but you still had a line, and you were like, this isn't happening. We're not crossing this line. And even after, when you and her were like going through all your shit and you really weren't with her anymore, and you were just kind of like fighting back and forth, like, of whether you're going to be together or not, you still did not cross that line. Like, you didn't cross that line until it was like over.
Yeah. Until it was like done.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so that put a lot of faith in you for me. Of like, I don't have to worry about him. Like, even and
that was all part of the plan.
And because you went to her and talked to her about how you felt, it wasn't like she learned it. It wasn't like she found your text messages and was like, what the fuck is this? You went to her and was like, this is how I've been feeling. I'm really sorry this is happening. That to me also was like, I don't have to worry about this, because if anything happens, if he ever gets feelings for another person, if he ever feels this way, he'll come talk to me about it, and we can work through it. We can figure it out. And if the relationship is dead, it's dead. But if it's not, then we can figure this out.
I'm not saying we really should talk about this another time, but I'm not saying that I was the best, it was the best, whatever. I'm not promoting anything.
No, because of the relationship you were in, everything that happened was really bad.
But I will stand by, and this is part of the reason why I got upset about all the arguments that we had, like me and her had, is because I will stand by the fact that did I do some stuff that probably by normal standards
was inappropriate or wrong?
Was wrong. However, that point I never got credit for. And I'm not saying like
the fact that you came to her to tell her.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not saying like I need.
Well, because of her,
you're doing so great. Thank you.
And that's not the relationship you had, though.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying like, out of anything that could have happened.
Thank you for coming to me first or anything.
Out of anything that could have happened, out of any way for her to find out, out of any like transgressions I could have done.
Yeah.
I was honest with her. I went to her and I was like, hey, I really like this person. There's a line that I have contemplated crossing because of how I feel about this person, and I really want to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And that's no bullshit. That's literally like how that conversation started. That's no bullshit. And I never got credit for it. It was like instant.
I gave you
like you gave me credit for it later, but I'm saying like it was instant. Like you cheated on me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna burn the whole village down.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
you
let
can't.
everybody,
but in that relationship, that's how you guys were, though, and that's
fair.
That's you know, and I can imagine feeling that way.
Yeah.
Whether I can imagine feeling that way. Yeah. But what I know now about relationships, like you got to think that you guys were in a relationship for 8 years. You guys started in high school, so you guys weren't ever out of that child mindset of how relationships work. Just like me and my ex never were.
True.
And so, like that is how high schoolers deal with that situation. Yeah. That is how like soap operas deal. Mm. Whether the man did the right thing by coming to her or not, that's how you deal with it.
Yeah.
And like, luckily, I've learned from my past relationship that like sometimes infidelity isn't necessarily your fault. Mm-hmm. Like it sometimes is the other person's fault or the other person's fault. I'm not saying that you're not faulted.
Or sometimes it's
playing into it.
Or sometimes it's about things that you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like that was like again being removed from that type of relationship and being in this relationship for so long, it's beneficial to look back on things and really understand.
Yeah.
But like, it's not necessarily even things that you know that you did. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a really small example. But like that one time where you guys were out over 8 years and you went to the mall and she commented about how your shirt looked really tight. Like that could carry over to the first other girl that's like, you look really nice. Yeah. It's like little things like that. Like
wow, your body is really attractive.
Yeah, that you don't even know is a thing.
Yeah. Well, and I feel that. I've had that, So
we're gonna stop now.
All right. It's been fun though.
I appreciate everybody listening.
Sorry, we just had a conversation.
We
really didn't even do this for the podcast. No. It was just us talking.
It was literally the only reason why I want to stop is because I realized that it was 2 hours. Or else I just would have kept talking about it.
So if you want to know what we sound like when we're sitting over dinner talking, that was it. It doesn't sound like any different from our other podcasts, does it?
It's nice. That's why I like doing podcasts with you. It's nice. I like talking to you. Anyway, thank you. I love you.
I love you.
And I appreciate you spending time with me.
Oh, we're so gross. Ew.
According to you, it's because I had the sex. That's
Let's
the only
hope the
time
cat.
That's the only time I do cute voices.
It's the only time you tell me how much you appreciate me in the cute voice.
Yeah, the cute voice.
Is when you've gotten laid.
Yeah.
Other times you just go, I appreciate you. I love you so much.
I love you so much.
And then I'm like, oh, okay, I appreciate you and I love you so much too. But then if we've had the sexual relations, then you're like, I appreciate you so much. I love you. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I love you.
Thanks. This one doesn't feel real.
It is real. It is real.
I know.
Anyway.
I'm just being sassy. Anyway.
So yeah, thanks for listening.
So let's hope the cat didn't turn the camera off.
Oh my god, I'm so pissed.
Beans and cornbread.
What's the fucking point?
Beans and cornbread. Boop, boop.